think we should do gas as well. And then you've got to, 90 quid a year, nearly £2 a week. And then it becomes a bit more meaningful. Energy is not a luxury. It shouldn't have VAT on it. And if the government needs to pay for this, another way to do it is put VAT on flying. That is a luxury.
Let's bring in now Dale Vince. He's the owner of the Ecotricity energy company. He's a Labour donor, and he was in Downing Street yesterday for Andy Burnham's arrival in Downing Street. Dale, good morning.
Morning.
What was it like in Downing Street yesterday? Was it very cheery?
Yeah, it was very cheery, very positive. It's a bit of a laugh, kind of party carnival atmosphere.
What did you do? What did you do the moment Andy Burnham went into Downing Street? Did you just have to sort of float off, or were you invited in a back door?
Stood around chatting, and then did a bunch of this, talking to the media.
Well, I'm sorry to get in the way. Look, he gets down to the serious stuff today. Are you concerned that his first major announcement, that VAT on electricity bills, isn't funded, that he can't say where the money's going to come from?
No, I'm not, because I think there are plenty of opportunities to find that money. For example, there's a heat pump fund of 3 billion, electric car support another billion, and this is money going to people that already have money so they can buy expensive things. And it's not the right priority. There's nearly £4 billion that we could use, not just to fund the electricity cut of VAT, but also gas. And it's a mistake to leave gas behind, because we all spend as much money on gas, not quite all of us, as we do on electricity. They're fairly equal in the problems to us as costs.
So look, it will be up to energy suppliers to pass the saving on to customers and not just keep it for themselves. Well, can we trust them to do that?
No, I don't think that's correct, because Ofgem sets the level of energy prices in our country. And if VAT is removed from the list of things that they have to add up to get to the final price, then final price will be lower.
Oh, well, that would work better if that were the case. Look, as you say, the energy price cap is set by Ofgem. It's forecast to be £1,849, which is an average cut of £45. It's less than £1 a week. It's meaningful, but it's not going to feel like an awful lot come the autumn, is it?
No, and I think we should do gas as well. And then you've got to, 90 quid a year, nearly £2 a week. And then it becomes a bit more meaningful. Energy is not a luxury. It shouldn't have VAT on it. And if the government needs to pay for this, another way to do it is put VAT on flying. That is a luxury. So it's about rebalancing our priorities. I think there's a big opportunity there. Then you've got standing charges in electricity and gas. We could take those away at no cost, because we can just smear the cost of standing charges into the unit rate, instruct the DNOs to do that, and we can that's a very progressive move, but that doesn't benefit everybody equally. It benefits the people that use the least the most.
So Miatta van Buller is the new energy secretary. You must have come across her. Is it fair to say she's every bit as keen on the net zero agenda as Ed Miliband was?
I don't really know, actually. What I'm hoping, though, is that Miatta's focused on value for money. And I've been saying lately that Ed hasn't been. When you look at $3 billion for heat pumps, an exotic heating technology that puts bills up, and you have to have about £8,000 spare in order to take the £8,000 from the government to buy this new kind of heating system. That doesn't make sense to promote that, or giving people that can afford to buy a new car £4,000 to help them buy an electric car. So those priorities are wrong, and I'm hoping we'll get a different outcome now.
What do you understand to be Andy Burnham's policy on expanding North Sea oil and gas drilling, the extent to which it's happening, where it's going to be happening, and so on, and how much good it's going to do?
Well, from reading the media, he's either going to allow more drilling or he's not, and it kind of flip-flops. But what I understand of the case for drilling in the North Sea now is that there's not a case. We can't change the price of our energy that way, because that's set by global markets. We can't gain energy security that way. I think Jackdaw, the owners, came out and said it would reduce our dependence on foreign supplies by 2% last week, just 2%. The amount of gas and oil left is about 1 year's current consumption for our country, so it's really quite meaningless. The North Sea is all but empty. There are better things we can do, such as put a CFD on the North Sea, guarantee the price for the operators there, so we can maximize the last 10 years, protect jobs, and maximize extraction. That would be much more sensible than spending time and money and tax breaks, huge tax breaks in more drilling in the North Sea.
What did you think about the expansion of solar, perhaps on the roofs of council houses?
Well, that's what I've been proposed, yeah. So I quite like that idea. That's what a surprise. But look, it's actually, when you look at the numbers, let me say this. There's 4 million, I think, council houses or public sector homes in Britain. And if we solarized all of them, we could give 4 million people 400 or 500 quid off their electricity bills, make a meaningful amount of electricity, give people a kind of an experience of the green economy that's not a net zero experience about giving stuff up, and make an 8% return for the government. So it's the kind of thing government could borrow to invest in. And we can move the dial on so many different fronts. It's a good idea.
Do we have enough people who can do it? Enough people who can install them? Enough solar panels for such a huge project? And I say this with feeling, as somebody who's recently tried and failed to get solar panels on his own roof.
Well, look, we don't have enough people to install millions of rooftops, but we'd build our way towards that. And the other great aspect of it is we'd create jobs, for the people that are unemployed, and the 1 million people that are, I think, falling into the category known as NEETs, for example. So it's it's an industrial opportunity and an opportunity to make a significant amount of electricity at the deepest level of the grid, where we avoid losses and stuff. And it's the most useful for us. Every way you look at it, it's got a lot to offer us.
How much pain do you think people are prepared to put up with to do things like this, to do something like to put solar panels across the roof of every council home and stuff? If this means, more tax, higher tax bills, do you think people will understand the mission in a way that they didn't connect with the mission with net zero?
Well, it won't mean higher tax bills because it pays for itself. There's an 8% rate of return available there. So, that's a sensible rate of return based on which you can borrow money, in the markets. Private enterprise could do that. Also, we'll go street by street. That's the proposal, like some kind of broadband rollout or something like that, to make it a much more cost-effective way to put solar on people's roofs. And I don't think the disturbance would be so grand, quite frankly. But there's a new game out, actually, ground mount solar. This way it's known as plug-in sometimes. The idea with a frame that you can put something in your back or your front garden and avoid stuff on your roof. It's much cheaper and quicker to install and gives you the same kind of outcome. So there's a lot of opportunity in solarizing our homes and using them to make the power that they ultimately need to use themselves. It's very, very much a democratizing thing in the energy market.
Maybe I'll have to give that a go. Look, we've seen from Darren Jones this morning that there is some bad blood in the Labour Party over Andy Burnham's sacking. So, and for somebody who sort of came along preaching sort of peace and light, it doesn't seem to have lasted very long. Do you have any misgivings about the brutality of last night?
I didn't think it was brutal. Do you mean the intervention saying, look, it's not funded?
No. I don't mean him being brutal. I mean Andy Burnham being brutal, sacking so many people, throwing them out the door.
I don't think it's brutal again because, look, I run a football club, and at the end of every season, there are a bunch of players that you don't want to keep for the next season. There's another bunch that want to leave anyway, and then you bring in a bunch of new players. And Andy is just, he's the new manager, to extend the analogy, and he's bringing in his own players. I think that's quite normal, and I dare say it was done, very respectfully and politely, and it will have been understood by everybody.
Dale Vince, thank you very much indeed. Dale is the founder of Ecotricity, and he's also a Labour donor. Thank you, Dale.